Ladies and gentlemen, we have returned. We're back. We're live. It's the Going Broadway podcast. It is Alex. It is Cole. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, for tuning in. Cole, what's happening?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. And we have just about everything under the sun to talk about in a matter of like an hour.
Yeah, we got some catching up to do. It's been a minute since we've been on here. And by the way, guys, couple of small notes. Thoughts and prayers out to the family of Butch of the Bushwhackers. He passed away earlier today. For those of you that are old school wrestling fans like myself, you're familiar with the Bushwhackers, and even before that, the Sheep Herders. So thoughts and prayers to his family. As far as Cole and I go, our little hiatus. So our apologies first off for the inconsistency over the last couple of weeks. We're hoping to reestablish some consistency over the next few weeks. But without going into specifics, Cole and I both are going through some job changes, unpredictable schedules on top of that. And so we'll keep you guys updated. As of right now, we are planning on our podcast being on Monday nights moving forward, literally to coincide with the beginning of Raw each week. Sunday nights just weren't working anymore. And oddly enough, Monday nights seem to work best with prospective guests, which I'll get to in just a second. But yeah, our apologies once again. Monday nights moving forward. As of right now, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central is what we're shooting for. But as far as guests, we are delaying B. Brian Blair and Jake Roberts just due to the unpredictability, and it's not fair to them to cancel last minute. But Jake's already rescheduled. What did I say? I think Monday, May 15th.
May 15th.
And we'll get an updated graphic for that. But Jake Roberts being pushed out a few weeks, Monday, May 15th. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So really looking forward to that. And again, we'll get updated graphics. B. Brian Blair said he wants to be wants to be on with us as well. And it's just a matter of getting a date and time nailed down. Cole, do we want to let the cat out of the bag as far as what you and I have talked about, a meeting that we have coming up, or should we keep the people in suspense?
I say we hold off. All I'll say is that there are potential conversations that could benefit our podcast in a great deal coming up here in the next couple of weeks that Alex and I are preparing for. And we just ask that you guys continue to support, you guys continue to share posts, all that good stuff, because all that helps when presenting our podcast for different business ventures and things like that. So, I don't want to say anything because we just don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know, and I mean, there's just a lot of moving pieces that we don't know yet, don't have all the answers to. But I mean, we're excited. What's coming down the pike. So, that all being said, you guys that are in the chat, you guys that are watching Raw, keep us posted on what Triple H is opening up the show with, because I don't have it on right now. And let us know. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is talk the sale of WWE. We'll get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And I don't frankly have a ton to say about it. Cole, do you want to kick off with what your thoughts on the whole matter, and what do you think it's going to look like moving forward? Any changes?
So you and I, we talked about this Sunday night because of the rumor. The rumor kind of gets thrown out there, and again, there's only one source that's saying this at this point, and that was my only concern about it when it was a rumor, is that
at the time it was only CNBC. No one else had picked up on it.
Right. So I was like, oh, okay. I don't really know what's going to happen here. So the announcement today, which obviously it's not technically a done deal. It still has to have regulatory like checks and things and all this stuff done, but
it's going to be second half of 2023 is what I read as far as it's being finalized.
But they're all pretty confident. It looks like that there's nothing that looks like it's going to stop it from happening. So, with that being said, I'll get the things that concern me out of the way first.
Okay.
The thing that concerns me is the wording of that the UFC and WWE are merging into one company. I don't really know what that means, because they're not the same thing. Like, if you were to tell me that, and I'm just going to use it because it's the best example you could give. If WWE and AEW were to be bought by the same company, you could merge them because they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
UFC is not scripted entertainment as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've been fooling us all these years, but that's real. Like, we're talking about real unplanned fights. And then we're talking about a show that is more storytelling, more about what the fans want, keeping people tuned in on a weekly basis. UFC, they're not on a weekly basis. They're on a monthly or 3 monthly or whatever their pay-per-view schedule looks like. So when we talk about merging those two companies, I don't know what that means, and that's a concern for me. Is when you talk about merging companies, I think all under one banner. If they were to have like an Endeavor app that you could get on, I imagine both of those products being there. You know what I mean? So the idea of merging them seems interesting. I am very intrigued on how they plan to do that. They're talking about changing the company name of that. So what does that, again, what does that mean? Are we changing the name of the overall company and then keeping it still UFC and WWE as their names of the products? Or are we talking about a brand new, like, Ultimate Fighting Entertainment, name, that's going to be out there, and it's going to have real and scripted fight? These are the little intricate things that we really just won't know. You'll get the rumors and you'll get the dirt sheets, and they're all going to say different things. We won't really know until it happens. But those are my concerns. From the other side of it, nothing, at least from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, nothing's really changing as far as a week-to-week, month-to-month, day-to-day, year-to-year type operations. Triple H is still going to be in charge of the creative. Vince McMahon says he's going to be in charge of the big picture. So he's staying. The exact quote was, he won't be in the weeds of the creative. He will be in the big picture of creative, which is what I kind of feel like he's already been doing at this point now. Nick Khan is still going to be the president. It sounds like everyone's still got their jobs. So what I really only notice is the stakeholder percentage changing. It goes from Vince McMahon having 51% of the vote to Endeavor having 51% of votes, and 49 going to the rest of the WWE, executive board, or whatever. The board's going to change. They're going to vote in new board members from each side. And Vince McMahon just made a lot of money while continuing to make a lot of money. Which means that Nick Khan made a lot of money while continuing to make a lot of, like, this is probably the best sale they could have made, because I don't see any other company being willing to do this. Like, we're going to buy it, but let you have a job still. I think a lot of these companies, like, we want to buy it and we want to have it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So what do they estimate it? Like $9.3 billion, I think, is what the sale is.
For the WWE part.
9.3 billion. So that's getting divided up between the big names, right? The Nick Khan, the Vince McMahon, Triple H, all the big names are getting a payout of that. And then they all get to keep their jobs and get paid millions still to work the jobs that they have. So WWE people kind of get the best of both worlds there if you're in the upper tier, if you will. I am curious on how it affects talent. They were supposed to have a talent meeting, an all employee meeting, I should say, today at like 4 that I read online, with Vince McMahon leading that meeting. So I am intrigued on how another one of those, we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out, kind of thing, on how it affects talent, how it affects the WWE product. Are again, from what I'm reading, everything's is supposed to be kept separate, but who knows what that means? Does that mean that we go back to paying $50 for a pay-per-view? Does that mean that we start calling them pay-per-views again? Does that mean that certain talent isn't going to make the cut? Are we going to change into weight divisions? Like there's a lot of questions that could just be, if you're wanting to keep it a buck across the board, that will have to be answered along the way. But ultimately, it doesn't, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, it doesn't really change anything. A lot of people made a lot of money. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It hasn't really changed. And honestly, if you didn't like Vince McMahon's decision making, now it's no longer his decision. So, he can have a say, but it ain't going to come down to whatever Vince wants. That's what he gets, kind of thing. So there's pros and cons. I don't really know what they all are on either side yet, because we just got the news today and it sounds like everything's still really fresh in the water. So it's something to kind of just watch and see, and interested to see what the announcements are tonight and how Monday Night Raw plays out. Obviously, we'll get to our WrestleMania recap, but now kind of knowing that this was in the pipeline, some of the results and some of the things that we saw at Mania kind of make sense on how they did the storytelling. So, yeah, that's all I really have.
So, like I said, I don't have a ton to say about it. First off, I think the pay-per-view, premium live event, whatever you want to call it, I don't think that model is going away, at least anytime soon. For one thing, I'm pretty sure WWE has a deal with Peacock, NBC, whatever.
That ends this year, I think.
Oh, really? I thought there was like a couple more years on it.
I think it's this year or next year. I can't remember, because I read a thing that said that they don't know if Peacock's going to pick it back up.
I think that they're going to have to understand that the UFC, and at least in my opinion, UFC and WWE have two different fan bases in terms of the conditioned aspect of who's going to pay. I mean, UFC pay-per-views are they can be what, $70? I think
now they're like either 60 or 70 as far as the overhead price.
And you guys correct me if I'm wrong, because I've not bought a UFC pay-per-view. Quite frankly, I've not watched UFC for probably 10 years. I think you have to have an ESPN Plus account in order to buy a UFC pay-per-view. Is that the case, or does that get it for you cheaper? I don't know, but I just know that ESPN's part of their model at this point. Anyway, regardless, I really think that the times of a wrestling fan paying $50, $60 for a pay-per-view, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I get that people do it for AEW, but they're quarterly. They have quarterly pay-per-views. WWE cannot expect the casual fan, or even fans like us, to pay $50 a pop on a monthly basis for a pay-per-view. That's $600 a year, and then some. That's not even counting NXT events. Technically, I think on average, WWE actually has 14 pay-per-views or premium live events per year. So that $600 a year is a conservative number. So I think they'll realize that. I hope they realize it, because I think their buys will go down if inevitably they go back to that model. I hope they prove me wrong, but at the same time, I know I won't be shelling out $50 a month for a pay-per-view. That's just the way it is. However, I think what they should do is, to your point, having like an Endeavor app is this is where the integration of WWE and UFC would come in. Have all of the pay-per-views only available on this app or via this app or whatever. It can be put on any streaming device, Apple TV, Amazon, Roku, whatever. But that's where you'd get your premium live events. Only you would have a separate app for UFC and a separate app for WWE where you could go get like the archived content. I don't know, just a thought. But you could charge like $4.99 a month for the content on UFC, or $4.99 a month for the content on WWE. Again, for all the archive stuff, all the original stuff, etc. And then charge like a flat $99.99 for the year, and you get all WWE pay-per-views, all UFC pay-per-views. And I think that would just sell like crazy, to the point where you would really need to make sure that this app is solid to the point where it doesn't crash. Because they could probably, honestly, if you're getting all UFC and all WWE events, you could probably even go up to $199.99 for the year. I still think people would do that. Anyway, so that's the business side of it. Or I should say the numbers side. I really hope, and I'm probably going to be wrong on this, I really hope they don't mix the rosters, UFC and WWE, that is. It's probably going to happen. I'm not going to like it, but it is what it is. I just think that UFC guys are going to, there's more of a risk for them to go into business for themselves during wrestling matches, in my opinion. Could be wrong. We'll see. So, but as far as any immediate changes, I don't think we'll see any. Aside from maybe Vince having maybe more of an evident presence on the TV product, because I did see a tweet where WrestleVotes actually said that tonight's Raw was the heaviest Vince presence in quite a while. What that means, I don't know.
Well, to your point on a couple of things. First off, on the Vince thing, of course he's there tonight. They just announced a major sale. I would be there too if I was Vince, because there's going to be a lot of people who have questions. They want to talk about it. This is the time to promote and push things, and get people behind the wheel. You know what I mean? Like, get people on the bus of being supportive of this decision and whatnot. To your point on the streaming side of things, that's my concern though, because the UFC fan is used to paying $60, $70 for a pay-per-view every single time it comes around. And I think I don't know if it's every 3 months or, as far as the big ones. I'm not a huge UFC fan, so I can't speak, I guess, on behalf of how often they go down. But I just read here, so WWE's current linear TV rights deal with NBC, Universal, and Fox Corp expires next year. Its streaming deal with NBC expires in 2026. UFC signed a 5-year TV contract with ESPN in 2019, which extends through 2025. So they could, around the same time, be able to start their own endeavor.
The future endeavor.
At the same time, but I would be concerned about the fan bases, because you have one that's used to paying, I think Peacock's $9.99 a month.
And that's if you don't get the ads, you can get it for $4.99 a month.
Yeah, like it's super cheap, and it also, the thing about Peacock is it provides other content than just wrestling. So for me, it was an easy sell to get my wife to be like, let's pay $9.99 a month, because she can watch The Office and I can watch wrestling. So it's a win-win.
I mean, plus it's got you can stream movies and
Right.
yeah, 100%.
Where if you get just a wrestling and UFC app, now you've narrowed your audience down to nothing. It's either you like this product and you're willing to pay for it or not. WWE's already went down that trail before. They had their own app. Why did they sell their own app if it was doing so well?
Right.
Clearly, they're like, oh, we could get more viewership. We can get this in front of more eyes if we get it on a product that isn't just catered to wrestling fans. So there's like I said, there's a lot of question marks when you talk about combining two companies that are they're so different. They have similarities, but they're so different. And to combine them and try to put them under one banner leaves a lot of questions.
So you guys that are watching Raw right now, I guess the Triple H announcement was not really an announcement, just kind of a dud, and he kind of put over WWE and said it's not going to go anywhere. I guess you guys can shed some light on that. That's what I'm seeing anyway. But anyhow, moving on. We won't recap it in its entirety, but I'm going to give Cole the floor to give some news and notes on Stand and Deliver. He's watched all of it. I have not seen all of it. I have seen some. But Cole, take it away.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to note is that because it kind of plays into this too, and I'm sure you saw this today, the Grizzled Young Veterans requested and were given their release from WWE.
Oh, it was granted.
I read that it was granted as well.
Okay, I didn't see that part.
And I think that was like an hour or two ago that I read that. So I could be wrong. Either way, whether they were granted or not, they've requested. So if you're not familiar with the Grizzled Young Veterans, for those who don't really watch NXT, they are the same to.
Uh-oh. The same to what?
I will say this. Do
you know you just froze up?
Was I frozen?
Yeah, you were frozen for the longest time. You said something about two. You froze up, and then you said, "I will say this."
Oh, okay. Let me backtrack. If you haven't watched NXT in a while, the two people that are the Grizzled Young Veterans, they were for the longest time. They are also the same two guys that are in the Schism on NXT, which lost to Andre Chase University on the pre-show of NXT Stand and Deliver. And I want to say this in the most encouraging, nice way possible, because I think the talent that's involved is good, but I think the gimmick is stupid. To lose to a gimmick that is a university for wrestling is stupid. They put the university on the line. That was the reason that they had the match. Duke Hudson was kind of teeter-tottering if he was going to turn on them or not. He even teases, puts on a Schism shirt, and then, rips the shirt off, and Chase U wins. So here's my problem with the whole thing and why I don't blame the Grizzled Young Veterans at all for wanting their release. You went from being one of the hottest tag teams in NXT UK. You were tag champs. They were constant runners in the what did they call that tag team cup? Was it the Dusty Cup that they did, the tag team tournament they used to do in NXT all the time? I think it was the Dusty Cup.
Dusty Classic.
Dusty Classic, yeah. So they were like always in the finals of that, like 2 years in a row. And all of a sudden they just got put into the Schism, which again, they tried to push Joe Gacy hard. They put him in the main title picture. They tried to push the Schism gimmick hard, and no one's buying it. It's too similar to other gimmicks that have come and gone, and Joe Gacy's just not believable in that role. I think Joe Gacy has some talent. I think there's potential. I don't know if Joe Gacy is a leader of a group. I think you could easily put him in like a Judgment Day type group as one of the lackeys type thing. I don't know if he's a leader, and I think that's why it failed. So when you look at these guys who wanted their release, I don't blame them because they're probably going to go and get work. Even in NWA, Impact, AEW, wherever they land, they're going to get work because they were really talented, and I think it's a team that NXT kind of missed the mark on and wasn't willing to kind of circle back to.
Yeah, I think they'll wind up in AEW.
The match itself was not very good. I think as much as I want The Rock's daughter to get over, she has the presence. Back to the drawing board, homie. The moves were not there yet. No wonder why they haven't had a wrestle a match yet. I think
that's one thing. That's one of the few things I watched. She's not good.
And I think they're rushing her. I think they rushed her for a crowd pop on NXT, hoping that it would get Schism over, and it didn't. Thea Hale, extremely talented. Tyler Bate, extremely talented. Duke Hudson reminds me a lot of Wade Barrett. And I don't think I've seen enough of Andre Chase to even be convinced that he's cut out to be a wrestler more than he would be a better manager. But either way, that match was all right. Not the greatest. Glad it was on the pre-show. As far as the rest of the card, I'm not going to go match by match. But for the rest of the card, solid card for NXT, especially for one of their very few like pay-per-views that they've done. You know, they do a lot of specialty shows on TV still, but for their pay-per-views that they've done, I thought that the women's ladder match was done well. Congrats to Indy Hartwell.
Big surprise there.
A very random push for her. I don't know what the end game. Not that she's not deserving or not talented. I just, out of the names in that match, I don't know if she was the name that I would have picked out.
I loved how they did it though.
But it was all good. I'm good with that decision. And it kind of refreshes the women's roster there too. It puts a lot of new aspects out there. I thought the men's the Wes Lee North American title picture, I thought that was phenomenal. I'm excited to see what they do with Dragon Lee. I think he has potential to kind of be the next big thing in NXT if they do it right. And so phenomenal match there. And then I like I said, the whole card was solid, but you got to go to the Braun Breaker Carmelo match. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not watching Raw until tomorrow morning. So, I won't be able to see it for myself, but would not be shocked if Braun Breaker is a Raw surprise tonight or if he debuts in the next few weeks. Because the way that they did the title change, him giving the title to Carmelo, even though they cheated to win, him handing the belt to him and lifting his arm in victory very much felt like a handing of the torch to NXT to Carmelo, who's more than deserving of it. And it's kind of interesting. Braun's done everything he can do in NXT, so there's really no point to bring him back. And if it were me, I would bring him to Raw. I would have Austin Theory come out tonight, brag about beating John Cena, and have Braun Breaker run straight through him to become the United States champion. So,
okay.
But good card altogether. It makes me really excited for the future ones that they do. I think they have one planned in May, if I remember them announcing that correctly. But great card.
Let's see. I'm just looking it up because it's bothering me and I can't think of what the wrong website. Hang on. Battleground, that's what it is.
I thought it was Battleground.
Yeah, May 28th. Okay.
So,
yeah. Sorry for the dead air. That was just going to bug me because I couldn't think of it. And anyway. Guys, update us on what's going on with Raw. Are they seriously giving Cody a rematch tonight, or what's? I'm just kind of following along real time, but it's not real time. Anyway, okay, we're gonna talk some Mania right now. Oh wait, I guess Cody is having a tag match because someone posted a tweet. Who will be Cody's partner?
Probably going to be Roman and Solo, I would assume, or is he going to fight the Usos?
I don't know. It's probably going to be Cody and Randy. That's my guess. Or Jay White debuts. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions in the air.
Matt Cardona. I know he just got an indie god tattoo, which would kind of be silly, but nonetheless. Okay, Mania recap. Let's do this. So right off the bat, I know you're going to have some constructive criticism for match number 1 of night 1. Austin Theory defeats John Cena for the United States Championship. This match went 11 minutes and 20 seconds. You and I have already talked about this. You and I have the same opinion on it, so I'll let you have the floor since Cena's your guy.
So at least thankfully for the whole entire weekend, this doesn't go down as the worst match of the weekend. But for me, it probably goes down as the worst match of night 1. I was so to be a John Cena fan, but to bring him in as a big name, right? They promote John Cena and Austin Theory. They're going to open up Mania. It's this big deal. You have a lot of implications on this match, the now versus the GOAT. John Cena wins. He ties Ric Flair's United States title record for the most United States title reigns as well. So there's a lot of implications here. I'm okay.
Sorry. They're tagging Cody and Brock.
Interesting.
Okay. Sorry.
Very
Continue.
Now I'm going to have to watch. So I think the thing that's frustrating for me is John Cena for 20-something years has been the guy that kicks out of everything. He's the mega champ. He's the guy. I have seen John Cena be able to kick out of so much worse. And I know that he's older and I've had a few people tell me that. But then why do you have guys like Goldberg who kick out? Why do you have guys like Undertaker who kick out? Why do you have guys like Brock Lesnar who kick out? They're all the same age. They all have the same history. They all have been booked in the same kind of fashion. John Cena should not have lost in 11 minutes to a kick in the balls and a whatever he calls the A-Town down move or whatever special move that he has. They should have had him kick out. There was no attitude adjustment. The perfect way to get Austin Theory over more as a heel is have John Cena hit the attitude adjustment and have Theory roll out to the outside of the ring, put his leg on the rope on a pinfall, whatever. 11-minute match.
Or even kick out of it. I mean...
11-minute match and John Cena, I get it. Another argument is, well, John Cena's normal matches, he gets the crap kicked out of him for however long. He has his 5 moves of doom, and then he wins the match. I get that. But he didn't even do that. You literally had him get beat up. He did the 5-knuckle shuffle, and I think he did a STF or whatever he calls that submission move. Mm-hmm. And that was it. There was nothing to the match. It was honestly a waste of time to book John Cena in that match. Especially, not to mention, they wanted this to be like a now versus the future. Make Austin Theory look dope in the match. If you're going to have him go over John Cena, make him look like he should go over John Cena and not just a quick 11-minute match and we called it a day.
It was definitely a missed opportunity to, like, if you really wanted to cement Austin Theory, not only give him a win, give him the clean win. None of this, like, low blow stuff. No, none of the biting. Like, it was so dumb. It
was bad for an 11-minute match. Not to mention, how are you going to have the Make-A-Wish kids come out with John Cena and then have him lose in front of him? I'm sorry. I know that that's a great experience for them and everything, but they wanted to see John Cena, and you literally brought all them Make-A-Wish kids out there and said, here's your hero, and had him get beat in 11 minutes by a guy that they don't even probably know his first and last name. Like, so I have my own opinions about it. I know everyone was like, I knew that was going to happen. I'm okay with Theory winning. I'm just not okay with how they did it. It was the worst match of night 1.
Yeah. Unreal. The next match, however, could have had so much more time. The men's Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Showcase. The Street Profits get the win over Strowman and Ricochet, Alpha Academy, and the Viking Raiders. It's only, 8 minutes and 30 seconds.
So much jam-packed into that 8-minute match. I mean, the highlight reels that are in that match. First off, sleeper match of the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I might. I mean, I'm trying to look at the card right now and see if I would change my mind. It might make my top 5 matches of the weekend.
Oh, it does make the weekend, including Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say it does make my top 5. As far as matches on the WrestleMania card, 100%.
I mean, the Angelo Dawkins laying out Braun Strowman was insane. The Chad Gable German suplexing Strowman was insane. I thought they did in 8 minutes, I thought they did a really great job of making all the tag teams look solid.
Mm-hmm.
I think giving the Street Profits the win was a great pick. Them in the tag title pictures, it's been a long overdue for them to be back in that running again. So I thought it was great, but no one looked like a fool in that match.
No, not at all. I mean, and it wasn't a spot fest either. What's really weird is that it was a spot fest, but it didn't feel like it.
Right.
Like it was actual wrestling, executed moves, but it was a fun match.
Yeah.
So
very entertaining to watch.
Seth Rollins defeats Logan Paul, 16 minutes and 15 seconds. Logan Paul, I mean, just think what you want about him, but the dude can wrestle. Like, I know it's a cliche, but Logan Paul deserves his flowers at this point. I mean, Michael Cole said it on the commentary, but he's proved that he can compete in the ring with the best WWE has to offer. Like, he can be in those marquee matches and hold his own. Now, you were laughing. Were you laughing because of Rollins' attire?
Let's talk the negatives for just a second.
Okay.
So first off, Logan Paul coming down on a zip line with a lapel mic on was the stupidest thing I probably saw.
It was so bad. It was
so. I know they were trying to get him over as like the spoiled rich, YouTuber, thing or whatever, but it just was so bad. Like, if he would have came down just on the zip line and been like cocky, I probably could have been okay with it. But when he had the lapel mic on, he's like, "Look what I got for my birthday," and
it was so cringe.
It was so bad,
and it was going so slow. I've never seen a zip line go that slow before in my life.
And I'm sure it's for safety reasons because they don't want to drop, a YouTuber.
Listen, Shawn Michaels did it at WrestleMania 12. He was just fine.
But then you have what I can only describe as a bubble suit on Rollins when he comes out. It's like a Valentine's Day bubble suit that he comes out in. And I know he just looks at the costume designers and say, "What's the most ridiculous thing that you have that I can put on?" And they're like, "Well, we have these toe straps that we can sew together, and we have this huge Hugh Hefner inflatable robe that we can put around you, and that will be your attire."
And then under that we have a second layer. It's an old Jeff Jarrett costume that we're gonna alter a little bit, but you'll take that off too before you start your match.
It was all so that, and then okay, I gotta say this too. I didn't mind there being someone in a Prime costume and there being the Prime drink and having that involvement. I thought the table spot was hilarious. Mm-hmm. I don't think KSI would be the guy that I would bring out.
No. You and I talked about this. I mean, I get that he's popular with a lot of like social media, TikTokers and all that good stuff. But like, I know KSI and he's familiar enough to where I recognize his face, but never watched any of his videos. Like, are you really going to tell me that the majority of the WWE audience, either in the crowd or watching on Peacock, actually knew who he was?
If they could have got Jake Paul, I think that would have made the most sense. Or honestly, anybody else, like another talent. I
think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. I just had to mention it. And the bad entrance for Rollins. The
orchestra thing was
the conductor guy with the piped in sound. Oh, it's so bad.
They should have had an actual choir.
An actual choir, or pipe in the sound on the first one just to get people going. Because then they understand what he's about to do. And then there's 80,000 people there. They're gonna be.
And if you're gonna pipe in the sound, time it correctly. Right. Like the maestro, conductor, whatever, he does this, and then nothing happens for like a second and a half.
And then the crowd started, and then they're trying to play, rewind to catch. Oh, it's so bad. But honestly, with the names that that Prime costume could have went to any other wrestler who could have. It's another opportunity to get someone on the card. You could have had LA Knight in that Prime costume just to say I'm on the card. And
what would have made it more funny is if Logan Paul thought it was someone else. Now, granted, you wouldn't have had this table spot happen, or maybe you could have. Maybe you would have made it work. I don't know. Logan Paul should have thought it was going to be somebody else. Have it be R-Truth and just say, like,
my bad.
Throw it. Like, the comedy writes itself because R-Truth is in the skit.
You literally could have done a pre-shoot before the show, during the pre-show, because you had a 2-hour-long pre-show. Mm-hmm. You could have done a little shtick where it is KSI in the costume, and they're talking about him being at ringside for Logan, and then when you get down there, it's R-Truth, or like I said, it's LA Knight. It's somebody who. Mustafa Ali, I don't care who it is. It's an opportunity to get another wrestler on the card that may not have made the card. And KSI is just not a big enough name for me to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Jake Paul would have probably been the only celebrity that matches up with Logan Paul that I would have been like, okay, yeah, that at least makes sense. So, but the match was good. Again, I agree with you. Yeah. You got to give Logan Paul credit. Triple H said it in one of the post press conference things about, talent getting mad that the celebrities or part-timers come in, but then he's like, they can memorize a 10-minute match and do it better than you. So you got to step up. You got to, when the two that come to mind, Logan Paul 10 times better than the other, but Logan Paul and Bad Bunny, they both have come in and they've learned the craft and they know how to perform. Logan Paul, he's entertaining on the mic, heel, and he's done face and heel things, and he's been entertaining on both. He's got people watching. I mean, when we were at the Raw show in St. Louis, there was a kid who literally sat there with a Prime is amazing sign or whatever. He's made it into every promo since. So they're drawing fans. He's drawing fans. I got a guy from my church that actually works at the airport, and he got to meet Logan Paul as he got off the plane, and they had several people waiting to meet Logan Paul. So he's a draw. Whether you like him or not, he's a draw, and I'm interested to see who else they match him up with.
Agreed. I'm just reading a stat about Brock and his tag match with Cody tonight. This is the first tag match that Brock has had on network TV. Is that right?
No.
It's also his first match live on Raw in over 20 years.
I could believe that. He had a tag match with John Cena. John Cena and him were tag partners on SmackDown. I just watched the clip the other day.
Let me see.
The stat is that's his first tag match ever.
Okay, no. First tag match in 20 years.
Oh, okay. I believe that.
Since Survivor Series 03.
I believe that.
At least in WWE. He did a tag match with Shinsuke in New Japan in 06.
Yeah, I could believe the tag thing in 20 years.
But wow,
That's an interesting.
He hasn't wrestled on Raw in 20 years.
He wrestled on SmackDown, and one of his runs since
Yeah.
he's been kind of back, he wrestled one match on SmackDown, but he's not wrestled on Raw since his kind of triumphant return a few years back.
Wow, that's just crazy stat. Okay, 6-1 tag match. Trish, Lita, and Becky get the win over Damage Control. 14 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, didn't like the match. That's all I'm going to say about it for now. But I want to share with everyone what I shared with you last night as far as how I would have booked this. And anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. I'll let you share your thoughts.
So the only reason why this match doesn't get the worst match of the night is because there at least was the nostalgia feel for the people you brought in to have the nostalgia feel. Other than John Cena's entrance, there was nothing nostalgic about his match at all.
No.
They went above and beyond to try their best to make Lita and Trish look as strong as possible with Becky Lynch. Several planned spots. They pulled out as many things as they could. Now, with that being said, I've always thought since Lita has started doing matches again that she looks gassed, that she looks unpracticed, that she looks out of sorts. Trish Stratus, with the career that she has, I don't think she looked gassed, but I do think she looked rusty. I think that there was a lot of I wouldn't call them botches, because it wasn't that they botched it. It looked rough. It just wasn't crisp. It wasn't as clean as I think it should have been.
Slow.
Yeah, it was very much like we gotta like set up for this, like you wait right there, give Trish like another 5 seconds for her to hit a flip, and then she's here, like it just wasn't crisp. When I think of a tag match, a lot of moving pieces in a match, I go back to the Fatal 4-Way Men's. Everything about that match was crisp. Everyone was where they were supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, hitting the right moves at the right time. No one's off sync. And this match just fell off sync. And then, of course, what are you doing with Damage Control? I don't. When they first unveiled it at SummerSlam last year, I thought, wow, this has a lot of potential. There's no female stables that are solid. You have 3 solid wrestlers here. Bayley could win the women's championship. You give the tag titles to them, but you never really capitalize with them. You don't really give them prominent spots to really shine. And then you have them take a loss to 2 veterans and Becky. I think this was the perfect way to get Damage Control over, is that the belts are on the line, so you don't have to have Becky and Lita drop to them back at Mania. This is the perfect way to have a heel win for Damage Control. I don't understand the booking on this one, but the only reason why it's the second worst match of the night is because at least they did their best to make it feel nostalgic and big for the people involved.
So here's how I would have booked this. The rumor has been for quite a while that Trish is going to turn heel eventually. Could have possibly happened on Saturday. Obviously, it didn't. I still think it's going to happen, and eventually we're going to see Trish and Becky at SummerSlam. So it makes sense why they didn't pull the trigger on it this early, because that'd be a long build. That'd be 4 months practically. But you still could have not only given Damage Control the win, but also add to their group. So I would have actually had one of 2 people insert themselves in the match through, cheating, underhanded means, whatever. Chair shot, weapon shot, whatever. However you want to do it. It doesn't matter to me. But you either have Indy Hartwell join the group, because they've been very when I say they, I'm speaking specifically of Becky and either Dakota or Io. I don't remember which, but it's apparent they're friends in real life. And whenever Indy won the NXT Women's Championship, they post on Twitter how touted it like it's a big deal. They're proud of her, blah blah blah. So let's say you don't give Indy Hartwell the NXT Women's Championship, move her to the main roster, put her with Damage Control. That's option one. The other option, same scenario. Somebody joins Damage Control, have her be masked, hooded, whatever. Reveal it to be Roxanne since she dropped the NXT Women's Championship. To me, I think she's ready for the main roster at this point. She's super talented. She's got a lot of personality. I think she could pull off the heel role as well. So missed opportunity. I mean, it's like, I don't know what you can do with Damage Control from here.
Well, and in your booking, if you put Roxanne Perez in there as a heel to start, you can eventually set her up for the biggest babyface run in the women's division in a long time, because then they start mistreating her. I would put the women's belt on Bayley. I'd put the tag belts back on Dakota and Io, have them have on this dominant run, and Roxanne's like the failure of the group. You don't ever amount to nothing, and they kind of make her like the carry the bags kind of thing. And then she stands up for herself. She eventually beats Bayley for the women's belt. Like, you could set her up for the biggest babyface run of in a long time by doing that. So I don't know. I definitely missed opportunities in the match, though.
And even to your point, you could even have Roxanne kind of take over the group and have them turn on Bayley. Mm-hmm. Bayley becomes a face again. Not necessarily her hugger gimmick, but still kind of like this edgier Bayley, but a babyface edgy Bayley. If that makes sense. So there's a lot you could have done with that, and anyway, it is what it is. Ray defeats Dominic, almost 15-minute match. I know I've hated on Dominic, but I mean, great entrances. Great fun match. I mean, entertaining. I mean, got to give Dominic his flowers too. I mean, this is his best match since he's been with WWE, in my opinion, and I don't even think it's close.
Hold on one second.
No, you're good.
I want to look at something real quick. Okay, so. Agree with you. Number one, best entrances of the entire weekend. There isn't one that's better. I don't care what anybody says about the Edge and Finn Balor one. These were the best entrances of the weekend. I enjoyed everything. I enjoyed the Eddie Guerrero shout out during the entrance for Ray. The only bummer, and I said this to you, the only bummer I had is when he went underneath the stage to come up, I thought they were going to shoot him out like the old days, and I got super excited, and it didn't happen. I was like, his knees can handle it. Do it. But they didn't. The match was good. Dominic has, for how just the way that he's been able to do all the right heel things to get himself over as a heel was great. There's only two thoughts that I have on this match. Number one, with him taking the loss, I feel like the story's not over. I feel like the story technically ends with Dominic getting a win over his dad at some point. Whether that's going to be in Puerto Rico, that's a great place to do it with all the Latin culture that's involved there. So you might see a rematch happen potentially here at Backlash. The other thought that I had, and I mentioned this too the other night, I don't know what you do with Dominic after the family storyline is over, though. He's done a great job with the family storyline, and I think a lot of that has to do with, one, the family has done a really great job at helping get Dominic over too. It's not a one-way street there, but when this is over, Rey Mysterio says he wants to wrestle till he's 50. He's 48 right now. So we still have 2 years left of Rey Mysterio technically feeling like he's good for, in-ring action. So
It's not a U.S. title match, is it?
that's very interesting, seeing how he's on. They're kind of throwing everybody everywhere tonight.
Something.
It does make sense that Brock's in the ring with the UFC whole thing. It's a way to get things trending, I guess. But so I just don't know what you do with Dom when the story is over. Whenever it is. I feel like it's not over. I actually feel like the Judgment Day Edge stuff may not be over with the way that they kind of end things. So to keep in mind, Judgment Day went 1 for 2 on the weekend. Damian Priest didn't even have a match. So I don't know what you do with Dom after this storyline ends, though, because he's done really good at being a heel against his family. But how does he transfer that? That's gonna be the big question for him. How does he transfer his heel heat over to just being a good heel without throwing water in his mom's face or sister's face, telling his mom to shut up, and calling his dad a deadbeat dad?
Yeah.
You're also going up against one of the biggest baby faces of all time in Rey Mysterio. So it's really easy to be the bad guy. So I'm interested. I'm intrigued on what they can do with him moving forward.
Agreed. Next match, SmackDown Women's Championship. Rhea wins the championship, defeating Charlotte 23 minutes and 35 seconds. Listen, I thought it was a good match, but I feel like people on social media, and this isn't the only match that they've done this for. I feel like they made it out to be this like 5-star classic match. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was good. I thought it was very good, but I didn't think it was flawless.
I will say this. I feel like the women's division, outside of maybe 3 or 4 people, has really dropped the ball since this big push of the women's revolution. You know, you do the Evolution pay-per-view, and I thought there were a lot of great matches on that. And I kind of feel like they've struggled to develop the next, like, big 4, if you will. You had the 4 horsewomen come out with Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky. You have a few stragglers in there, too. Like the Alexa Bliss had a good run in there. You bring up Rhea, you bring up Bianca Belair. You have a few Asuka. Like, you have a few names in there that have done some cool stuff in that time. But who's the next big 4 to step up? And I don't know if we have that outside of like your kind of big 4 or 5. And I'm gonna get hate for this.
I know where you're going with this too.
Now that Sasha is out of WWE, I would say their big 4 as far as in-ring ability and overall package. It's Charlotte Flair, it's Becky Lynch, it's Bayley, and it's Bianca. Rhea only just now has really gotten over with the crowd with the Judgment Day and Mommy and Dominic stuff. But everybody else has been consistent since they've joined the main roster. Bianca has been consistent. Was this 3 WrestleManias in a row where she was either champion or fighting for the championship? I think her first year, she fought Sasha and won. Last year she defended and lost, I think. And then this year she defended and won, or vice versa. I can't remember. But regardless, she's a staple. So, and we'll talk more about her in a little bit. But that's why I'm just like, they don't really have other talent. I think NXT is starting to get a few more that are going to be good. Mm-hmm. But right now on the current main roster, and again, we'll talk about night 2 here in a second, there's not a lot of talent that's sitting there that's like on the same level.
Yeah. Some of these I kind of like to breeze through. McAfee defeating Miz. I mean,
fun.
Listen,
it was fun.
I get why they did this appearances with, McAfee and, to some degree with KSI. I get where they were going with this. They're trying to get eyes on the product that may not normally watch, because I saw someone on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but he said he was watching with friends, either casual wrestling fans or, not really wrestling fans at all, but like popped major whenever Pat McAfee, did it, showed up as a surprise. And so, look, I get it. I just don't want these surprise matches at Mania every year to be a thing. I don't think it's necessary. It's second pay-per-view so far that McAfee has showed up as a surprise, and cool, whatever. But I'd have been just as intrigued if you said Miz was hosting, but then say he's going to have a match against a mystery opponent. There's intrigue immediately, and then if Pat's music hits, you still get the same pop, if not more so. But
not to mention, and again, I'm with you. The names that they picked to come out, I'm not anti those names, but you didn't have Bobby Lashley on this card.
Yeah.
Granted, it was because Bray Wyatt hurt, whatever the case may be, that fell through. That was supposed to be a match that happened that didn't. I get it. But this is a perfect place to have Bobby Lashley come out, hit a spear, put a hurt lock on Miz, get a dub.
Yeah.
LA Knight was saying you can't have WrestleMania without LA Knight. This is a perfect way to have him come out. And if you want to have Snoop Dogg hit him with a punch to the face, Miz kind of does a face thing and, hits LA Knight with it or vice. I don't care. These are two names that people wanted to see on the card that didn't make it, and you could have used them is I guess my thought. But
yep. Easily match of the night. Maybe, match of the entire card, arguably. KO and Sammy win the Undisputed Tag Team Championship, defeating the Usos, 24 minutes and 15 seconds. I mean, just a masterpiece of a tag match, masterpiece of a match, period. There's not a whole lot more I can say about it, but just from a storyline standpoint, from a match standpoint, the execution of the storyline and the match, both flawless.
I really hope that, and this was my concern with KO and Sammy winning the tag belts, is I don't know how long you let them hold them for. But I'm really hoping that they utilize them in the tag division as much as possible on the weekly programming. Tag team open challenges against the Street Profits, against the Viking Raiders, against Ricochet and Braun, against Alpha Academy, against you name tag team here. New Day. Like I really hope that we get to see some really good classical tag team matchups. And what would be really cool is, because we know that their contract's coming up here soon, they have an AEW match literally where it's going to get them kicked out of AEW, and I wouldn't be shocked that we see them at SummerSlam. FTR versus Owens and Zayn would be a money-making match at SummerSlam, and that's not too far off to be planning that. If FTR's 90-day, if they even have one, should be pretty close, if not up by then. So,
it would be. The match is this Wednesday, isn't it?
This Wednesday or the following. But either way, if they have a 90-day, I don't know when their contract technically ends. I think it's end of April, so it'd be close. But either way, I'm not an FTR fan, but I do recognize that they're a money making and that they don't put on terrible matches. They're just not my favorite. Yeah,
I get it.
I really hope they utilize them in the tag division as much as possible while they have the belts.
All right, night 2, Lesnar defeating Omos under 5 minutes.
Shouldn't have been a match.
It's literally what we expected it would be. Next match, the women's 4-way showcase.
Shouldn't have been
25 seconds. Rousey and Baszler get the win over Liv and Raquel, Natalya and Shotzi, and Chelsea and Sonya.
The only thing I'm going to say about this is
shouldn't happen.
You had 2-hour pre-shows on both nights. If it were me, I would have done the Andre the Giant Battle Royal on night 1. At least you kind of get a lot of those names on the WrestleMania card, if you will. And I would have done this women's tag team match thing that they tried to accomplish on night 2 of the pre-show. I get that it was a showcase, but they didn't showcase anything.
No.
And the problem is you have the men's one, same amount of time, that was by far one of the better matches on the card. and then you give the women the same amount of time. But look at the difference of talent. And it's not a men versus women thing. They could have put better women in this match as far as talent. There's 3 or 4 in there that I could argue should be in the match. The rest of them kind of like, why are they even? Sonya and Chelsea Green thrown together tag team. Shotzi and Natalya thrown together tag team. Like, it didn't make sense to me. Why, I don't know. You could have done damage control in this match and done Bailey versus Trish or whoever, whatever you want to do. Like, there was better options, is all I'm getting at. And so this match shouldn't have happened on the main card.
Here's when night 2 really started.
True.
Gunther retains the Intercontinental Championship over Sheamus and Drew. 16 minutes and 40 seconds of just beating the crap out of each other brutality. And it was fantastic. I mean, it's funny that, like, you think that, I've seen Gunther and Sheamus matches, it's going to be the same. I'm not going to enjoy it. All you're doing is throwing in Drew, blah, blah, blah. Like, I saw so many people on social media say that. And yet, arguably, match of the night, arguably, best match on the entire card. Nights 1 and 2 included. Your thoughts?
Yeah. First off, I think a lot of us thought Gunther was about to lose this match. Not because he's
one of them.
Not because he's not good, but a triple threat match, it's a great way to protect him and have him drop the belt. But I told Alex, if I was WWE, I would have Gunther carry this title until they're ready to make him world champ. And whether that's him beating Roman, because honestly, he could be a believable name to beat Roman. 100%. Not to mention, he has Imperium on his side. So it's 3-on-3 as far as him versus Roman and the Usos. And you only need one person now to take care of Solo if you want to do the numbers game, which would be really easy to pair somebody up with Gunther at this point. So I think he should carry this title until they're ready to make him world champ, whether it's him being the guy that beats Cody when Cody inevitably wins the belt at some point, or if he's the guy to dethrone Roman at some point. I think you should keep him as IC champ because he has made that title the workman's title again. He has done a great job of putting on great matches both on TV and on pay-per-view, and I thought it was a phenomenal match.
100%. I feel the same about the next match that I did the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bianca retains over Asuka, 16 minutes and 5 seconds. This is, okay. Ironically enough, of every match on night 1 and night 2, I think there's some argument to be made that the loser could have been the winner. Just
True.
about on every match, night 1 and night 2. This was one that I'm just like, I don't think there's, you should have pulled the trigger on Asuka here, in my opinion. Because from here, what does Bianca do? And it has nothing to do with the fact that, I think Bianca's okay in the ring. I think she's super cringe on the mic. It is what it is. But you've built up Asuka so much. And I don't know. I don't get it. Unless it was like maybe they'll have a rematch tonight and then Asuka gets the win. But I mean, it's purely hypothetical. It might not even happen. I don't know. I just feel like this was, contrary to, I'll phrase it like this. What everyone is saying about the Cody Roman match, we'll obviously get to it. I feel that way about this match. I feel like Asuka should have won here. And I don't know.
Unpopular opinion alert. I am 125% okay with this decision. Number one, I don't know if you saw this or not, but the little girl that was in the entrance for Bianca, her mom had passed away that day.
I didn't see
Bianca
that.
was able to make that girl's day. And I would say the same thing again. This is why I'm arguing it for John Cena too. You have all these kids who you just brought this person out as the hero. This is that person you're supposed to look up to. And then you're going to have them lose the big one? I like that sells the wrong motive, right? It sells the wrong story that you're trying to tell the kids. Here's the thing about Bianca, and you notice it when you go to live shows. She is a crowd favorite. The kids love Bianca Belair. The little girls want to be Bianca Belair. They all want to have her hair like her. That she's fun. She's upbeat. She dances. People are vibing with Bianca Belair live. She's not been a year-long champion because she's bad in the ring and she's bad on the mic. She is a number one merch seller for out of women that are on there. I don't, other than I don't think she's amazing on the mic. But here's my thing: if you're gonna say that, then Asuka shouldn't be champion either. She can only say 4 words. Nobody's ready for Asuka. Like that's the only thing she can say in English. So if you're gonna talk about someone who can cut a promo, then Asuka's not your pick. Io Sky's not your pick. Those two are out just because of the fact that they can't speak English. So that's gone. And then I could only name you 4 people that I think are clearly better than her on the mic. And it goes back to the people that no wonder why they're better than her on the mic. It's Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. I think Rhea Ripley's pretty solid on the mic. But there's not many others. I think Alexa Bliss is cringe on the mic. She's been women's champion multiple times. Nikki Cross, cringe on the mic. She's been women's champion. Like that, if we're gonna call it on that, then we've missed it. Bianca Belair, one of the best athletes that they have. I mean, phenomenal athlete, looks great in the ring, has a good look, and she caters to their audience, which is kids. I know there's an adult audience. I'm one of them, but I thought that was the right call. I don't know what you do with Asuka if she's women's champion, other than it's a fresh name that you can put the same challengers up against. I don't know what you do with Asuka. I think if Charlotte Flair is freed up, you could do Bianca and Charlotte. I think there's some options here. If there are any NXT call-ups, you could see some fresh names coming up, and I wouldn't mind to see Bianca and Raquel Gonzalez or Rodriguez. Sorry. So once they do the superstar shakeup thing, I wouldn't mind to see Bianca and Raquel.
Sorry, quarter after. Let's see. Shane tears his quad. He was supposed to be him against Miz.
What you just got to say for a second. What a way to have such a big entrance come out. He gets on the mic. He's like, "Thanks for welcoming me back." Yada. They have this match and stuff. And it wasn't that he even did a move. He literally jumped on a sequence of running the ropes.
Leapfrog.
Comes down, lands on his knee, tries to come back up, couldn't get back up. And then, props to Snoop Dogg. On the fly, he just says, "You gonna do my guy like that?" Jacks the Miz. Miz gets back up. He goes, "You want another one?" Jacks the Miz again.
And legit, Miz got punched in the face for real on one of them. I forgot which one it was, but I mean, legit got slugged.
But then you have Snoop do the world's worst people's elbow I ever see. What I saw a meme today, I don't know if it was on our Discord, if it was on Facebook, where it said, when mom says that we have that at home, and then it shows the picture of Snoop Dogg doing the people's elbow. But great save for what could have made out for a terrible segment. Again, just if you could rewind it, I know you're on the fly, you have very little amount of time, but if it were up to me, that's when I would have sent out Bobby Lashley LA Knight. Come do a quick spear, hit your move on it on Miz, get the pinfall, raise your hand, and go home.
I had this, so I didn't see this tweet anywhere. Didn't see this post anywhere. This is something I've kind of fabricated in my head. Definitely conspiracy theory. Probably not true, but I'm still going to throw it out there. Shane faked the injury to get back at Vince for firing him.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think you could fake a quad tear. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
and
not until like,
it runs in the family to do it in the ring in a crucial moment.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you can't fake it once you get X-rays or imaging, MRIs, whatever. But
at least they didn't have him continue the segment where somehow he beats Miz laying on the ground. So,
and I thought they were gonna do that too. I thought somehow they're going to like have Miz
I mean, you could have had Snoop knock him out and then laid Shane across him.
No, I don't know. I thought Miz was gonna like trip or something and then tell Shane to cover him. And anyway, I agree. Props to Snoop for improvising. Okay, we need to wrap this up. And gosh, these next two matches are anyway. Edge defeats Balor 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Balor got split open by a ladder, like really bad. Got staples put in mid-match. The match was actually cut short. I read this was actually supposed to go another 10 to 15 minutes. Good for what it was. I was underwhelmed with the match. I was even more underwhelmed by the entrances.
Well, number one, I don't think you could make the match go another 15 minutes. I felt like it was long enough. It was kind of dry. I didn't care for the colored weapons. You give us the original Hell in a Cell bag, but then you give me red and purple chairs. Like I was like,
and a purple table.
What's with color coordinating our stuff? All right, we're good. All right, we know what chairs look like. We know what kendo sticks look like. The kendo sticks look like plastic lightsabers from Dollar Tree. I didn't understand all that. And then again, the entrances bothered me because I thought we were about to get this crazy Edge Brood entrance. Like there's candles everywhere and there's going to be a bunch of fire. And then, the rumors of, I thought the Christian rumor was far-fetched, but I at least thought we were going to get Gangrel and we didn't get none of it. Then with the demon Finn Balor, I thought Priest would have came out with him at least, get him on the card. A little bit. You had Imperium come out with Gunther. I mean, everybody else came out with their team and their faction. So I didn't understand that call. But Finn Balor just did original theme music and crawled out to the ring with purple smoke. It was just bad as far as the entrances. And the match is bad to me because it should have been better. If this is the climax of Edge versus Judgment Day, that's a terrible ending to the story.
Yeah. Final conclusion, main event, Roman Reigns retains over Cody, 34 minutes and 35 seconds. Just like the main event of night one, the storyline, great execution. The match itself, great execution. This is unfortunately going to have to be a short discussion. I'll leave my comments short and sweet. I can kind of summarize with this. After having about 24 hours, not quite 24 hours, but close to it, to kind of sit on the result, let it marinate a little bit. I'm okay with Cody not winning the title here if it inevitably leads to him winning it, whether it's at Money in the Bank, whether it's SummerSlam. But it needs to be one of the stadium shows because otherwise it's not going to feel big. It's not going to feel as important. Secondly, this only works, obviously, if Cody doesn't get hurt. That was kind of my mental logic with, okay, you need to pull the trigger on Cody now while the crowd's still hot for him, while he's healthy. Because a lot of things can go wrong between now and Money in the Bank or now and SummerSlam. The crowd could go sour on him between now and Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. I don't know. But at the same time, I get this, and maybe this isn't what they're going for, but this is kind of how I'm equating it in my mind. In the 80s, you'd have Ric Flair go, a long time without losing or, before he lost the world title. And then inevitably when it happens, it's like, oh, okay, the babyface finally get the win or got, finally won the belt. Now what? you're going to feed him to either back to Flair, he's going to win it back, or you're going to feed him to the next heel. And then maybe if it's not the same guy, maybe a heel or 2 or 3 feuds in, and inevitably the babyface loses the championship, and then the heel goes on to hold the belt for X amount of months or a year or 2 and repeat. So, I saw a tweet earlier today that said if you didn't watch wrestling in the 80s, or if you did watch wrestling in the 80s, you wouldn't be a wrestling fan, because how they've booked Roman Reigns over this title reign is exactly how they did with Flair in the 80s. It's like match after match after match, opponent after opponent after opponent, and he just keeps finding ways to win, whether it's cheating or not. But we'll see. I just don't want it to be a situation that, and this could have played a factor in it. The sale to Endeavor could have played a factor in the decision. For all we know, Cody might have originally was going to win it, and then company sold. And there's like, well, maybe we should keep it on Roman for now. I don't know. Speculation. I also don't want it to be purely for the statistical aspect of it that, for Roman to get to 1,000 days. If that's a big part of the reason, that's garbage, in my opinion. But yeah.
Okay, well, I have a few thoughts,
Go for it.
and I'll try to make them quick. Number one, during the post press conference, Roman reiterates again and says, "Y'all, we're cooking a flame mignon here. Y'all are so and this is what I didn't like about the reaction. So many people I saw on Facebook, I'm done watching WWE because Cody didn't win. Why? Why are you done watching WWE? Because they're doing what we've complained about for years that they didn't do. We always used to complain that they hot shotted the title around too much, that people won, no one held the belt that long. We don't have long reigning champions like we used to. Now we have one and everyone's complaining. It's stale. It's yada yada. It is not stale. Every single show he goes to, he says, acknowledge me. The crowd goes wild. There's a bajillion number one hands in the air. His shirt's selling out like crazy online still. He's over. As a heel, people like him. He's over. I like Cody. I don't think Cody's the guy to beat Roman. That's my personal opinion. He would not be the number one choice that I had to beat Roman. Why? Because Cody can win it whenever. That's me. If I'm going to do this storyline where Roman's been this dominant champion for whatever it is, 3 years plus, I want him to be beat by the most unlikely underdog name that they can build up. I don't know who that is, but that's why I really thought that Sami Zayn, it was such an organic storyline, why I got behind it. But one will eventually come, whether it's Gunther, whether it's Braun Breaker, whether, if you build Seth Rollins back up, at least there's a deeper storyline there. I'm okay if Cody wins it, but I'm not sold that it had to be Cody. And I think a lot of people are like, well, they had to win the Rumble and, whatever. If Cody would have won this past weekend, it would have been the most predictable thing possible for WrestleMania. It was so predictable. He came out number 30 in the Rumble. He comes out, he beats Roman after a 3-year reign. Cool. Like, that to me is like the bare bones story. Him losing was the best call. It got everybody talking. I thought for sure Cody was going to win. I betted money on Cody to win. I thought the storyline wrote itself. Finish the story. The story ain't over. Triple H said it perfectly in that post-press conference. Cody just ended a chapter. The story ain't over. He just ended a chapter. I think at Backlash, you're going to get a 3v3. I think you're going to get Cody and Sami Zayn and Owens versus Roman in the bloodline with the Usos. I think you could have Cody Rhodes win the Money in the Bank and have him challenge Roman at SummerSlam. I mean, there's so many more options here, and it keeps things going. I do like the statistical standpoint of it. As far as on paper, I get tired of seeing the same names on the stat sheets. I'm not saying that they're not deserving of it, but that's why me as a fan, I would love to see John Cena break Ric Flair's record, because who else is going to do it? They don't do champions like they used to. Most of the people that are in the WWE right now, they have maybe 4 or 5 total. You don't have guys like Cena anymore who have 16. I think the next closest active is probably Randy Orton, Edge, Brock Lesnar. They're all kind of up there in age, but your current talents, they don't have 8, 9, 10 title reigns in the men's division. So it's kind of like, I want to see one of the names from my generation on the piece of paper, because 30 years from now, who's going to know who Bruno Sammartino is other than that's who they were told about? This is the Michael Jordan, LeBron James argument. I want to see my guy on the history books somewhere. And so I think that it's smart to get Roman into that over 1,027 to put him in the top 5 longest title reigns of all time. I looked that up with Alex. He would go over Pedro Morales on the top 5. So I'm good with the decision making. I thought the match was phenomenal. So many kickouts, so many great spots, such great storytelling. I thought it was great, and I think it's the right call to have Roman win because it was the most unpredictable thing. And there's still room for Cody. Cody didn't have to win it here. He can win it whenever. It's going to be fine. I think it was smart to go with the more unpredictable choice.
I would have added, and I told you this last night, I would have added one more layer, and I would have had him kick out one more time, and then do something to where, like, I don't know how you would have done it, but Roman does this, like, just ridiculous looking, like the most ridiculous looking spear he's ever executed, and then he gets the pinfall.
And here's the thing. You could have brought out a big name during that match too, thinking that they're coming to even the odds for that. You and I talked about this. If it was Jay White, there's the Bullet Club ties there. Jay White could have came out. Looks like he's on Cody's side. Then he hits Cody, and you start a feud with Cody and him to kind of get him away from Roman, but still relevant for a season. You could have had Randy Orton come out. Randy Orton, Cody ties, obviously. Looks like Randy's about to help him, and then he RKOs Cody out of nowhere. You do a whole thing. I don't know. There were other options to kind of sell Cody losing a little bit better. I
wonder if that's what they're doing tonight. I wonder if we're going to see a Brock heel turn, and we're going to see Brock F5 Cody or something.
There's options. I'm just saying, I think that this to me opens up more storylines for Cody and Roman than it does, because here's the thing: Roman loses, he's off TV. What are you going to do with Roman if he's not champion? He's off TV. He's going to take his hiatus. So Cody has a plethora of people he can fight, but you already see him fight Seth Rollins 3 or 4 times. He's going to fight Brock Lesnar. Is that believable for him to beat Brock on his first feud? He's going to fight Finn Balor. Name me some other people that are going to be as big marquee matches as Roman versus whoever they're putting him up against. So, that's where I'm at on it. I'm good with it.
Yeah. We're going to make this short and sweet because we got to be off here in like less than 2 minutes. But the only thing I want to say about as far as announcements, promotions, or whatever, we have our April pay-per-view event, e-pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. It's our GBP Invitational. It's on our Facebook page. We still have a lot of spots that need claimed, filled up, etc. It is more than halfway full, but we want to get that going. I forgot the date on that, though. It's the last Saturday in April, I believe, is what you've got it earmarked for.
Yeah, let me double check that while you're talking. And I can
but the only difference is that Cole and I have picked out the wrestlers for this, and you guys claim what wrestlers you want, whoever you think is going to win the match. And if they win the match, then you get an entry into the drawing for either a belt or a cash out option. You can also give a prediction on who you think is going to win the most matches. So Cole and myself, like I said, we picked wrestlers for these matches. And if you correctly predict who gets the most wins on the card, me or Cole, you also get an entry. So, and for that, for the most wins entry, however you want to call it, that's not just limited to one person. Anybody can jump in on that. So the number of entries into the drawing will be subject to however many entries we get into the most wins category. So anything else you want to add?
Yeah, April 29th, it's the last Saturday. We have it earmarked for 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on the start time. that we have to get it filled. So we have like two weeks really that I'd like to before it's filled. So y'all get on that, share it with some friends. A lot of the spots that are available still are some of the cheaper spots. So jump in on that. And again, like Alex said, those most win spots, that's for multiple people. You just can't vote on both sides to get an entry. So you have to pick one. And on top of that, I will say, I just had a thought in my head. There are only 8 matches on the card, so there's technically a way to tie. We are actually, the tiebreaker is whoever has the tag match win is going to get the tiebreaker, because there's technically 2 wrestlers in that match. So normally we would allow two
so we're not going to
entries.
flip a coin.
No. We'll go based off the tag match, because normally when we would do this, there would be 2 entries on the tag match. Okay. So the tag match will actually be the decider on who has the win. So someone will, if it were to be a tie, whoever won the tag match is going to get the tiebreaker on that. So just so you guys know. Plus, it's one of our better matchups of the event with FTR versus Beer Money Incorporated. I'm excited for that. So,
well, Cartoon Network champion, maybe you should buy some spots instead of being critical. No, I'm just playing. We got to wrap this up, though. Any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We sincerely appreciate it. Thank you guys for your patience with us as Alex and I navigate our new work situations as we figure those out. And stay tuned. We have some really exciting things in the pipeline that we can't really talk about too much just yet, but if all goes well, we're trending in the right direction and we're excited about it. So enjoy the rest of Raw. Enjoy wrestling this week, and can't wait to chat with you guys again next Monday.
We'll see you guys then.